This is Bloomberg Intelligence Radio. We bring you all the top news in business, finance, economics through our lens of our Bloomberg Intelligence analysts. They cover 2,000 companies and 130 industries worldwide. The next top story of the morning, aside from CrowdStrike and what's happening there, is what's happening in D.C. with President Biden. So the reports earlier from NBC said that Biden's family is starting to discuss his exit plan from the race. Shortly after that, the White House came out and said that NBC report was wrong. But the clock is still ticking towards the DNC. Oh, and by the way, the RNC just wrapped up last night with a 93-minute speech from former President Donald Trump. Let's go to Nathan Dean. He's Bloomberg Intelligence senior, let me get your title right, senior policy analyst joining us from there. Hey, Nathan, there's a lot to kind of get through right now. But before we kiss everything off here, let's just go to what's happening in D.C. and the White House. What is your take on the Biden campaign?
So, it really sounds like the pressure. I mean, look, I don't think you need to be me to know that the pressure is on the White House right now, and specifically on President Biden to, make the decision to step aside. We've seen reporting from Bloomberg News all throughout the week that not only do, his general allies in Congress, but also, statements from, or the lack of statements from President Obama, for example. But what we should note is the prediction rate markets as of right now are 57-21 in terms of Kamala Harris. Look, again, these are prediction markets, so take it if you will. But we've put out a whole host of notes on the terminal this morning on healthcare, taxes, banks, EVs, and TMTs. And the crux of the matter is that if President Biden were to drop out of the race this weekend and somebody like Kamala Harris comes in, the vice president, to replace him, most of the policies are status quo. There's really not a lot of difference between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden when it comes to policies. And so just in terms of like trying to figure out the certainty in which sectors are being impacted, I think it'd just be a continuation of the same factor.
So based on that, then, what would be the big changes with President Trump? I mean, 93 minutes last night, we learned a ton. Tariffs and taxes, is that what we're looking at?
Exactly. So I would say tariffs and taxes are the top two. In fact, our chief equity strategist, Gina Martin-Adams, put out a note specifically about that this morning, talking about what does that mean for markets. In terms of taxes, if you go back to the 2017 tax cuts and you do something very similar to that, you get a slight tailwind, pushing earnings a little bit better in that. If you get the tariffs, well, there's a lot of uncertainty there. So, but I would say in terms of people thinking about how President Trump would implement this, it's almost short-term versus long-term. Short-term, tariffs. The power of the presidency is a lot more powerful when it comes to trade and tariffs, so look for that to be one of the first actions that the president would do if he were to win in, say, the first quarter of next year. The tax reform debate, however, goes through 2025. Remember, that's when the individual tax cuts expire, so we have to see, A, the makeup of Congress, and B, we're going to see a lot of debate over what the tax issue is. So if you're trying to model this out from a timing perspective, trade and tariffs number one, taxes number two.
Yeah, and also, what it actually does to the equity market is a whole different story. Can we talk to me a little bit about energy policy? So clearly it's a drill, baby, drill situation for President Trump. On the flip side, though, the more you drill, baby, drill, the lower oil prices can go, which is not always happiness for oil companies and drill, baby, drill.
Yeah, funny enough, I was on a chat last night with some of our energy analysts when he mentioned drill, baby, drill. And a lot of the feedback I got from BI's energy team was, look, there's a lot of policy things that President Biden can do, but also just remember the markets are moving in a certain way. Solar and wind and renewable technology is continuing to get cheaper. And so, there are policies that we'll see on the energy side that certainly could make it easier for drill, baby, drill.
I know it's tough, right?
It's hard. There's certainly going to be policies coming from the White House, but also remember, is this policy a regulation or is it an executive order or is it legislation? And so I think that even though, I'm not an energy analyst, but at least, our group chat last night, a lot of our energy analysts think that solar renewables are here to stay.
What about EVs? Again, the contradiction of Elon Musk contributing heavily to a super PAC that's going to support Donald Trump. But then yesterday, it seemed like when he was speaking, he was like, subsidies for EVs, bye-bye.
Yeah, I got that question from a client just this morning. President Trump last night, essentially, and I'm paraphrasing here, said, I dislike electric vehicles. And, we're going to do away with the electric vehicle tax credit. That's part of the Inflation Reduction Act. Now, they could certainly do this as part of that tax reform debate that I mentioned too. And President Trump could use executive orders to adjust that EV mandate if he so chooses. But then you got Elon Musk saying, I'm going to spend $45 million a month to support President Trump in his presidency. So I think what would happen here with the EV tax credit is probably this is not going to be a day one issue. If President Trump were to win, let the issue fester for a little bit. Let's see if Elon Musk tries to get into the White House and starts whispering in the president's ear, and then we'll see maybe in the second quarter how ultimately they want to move forward with this. So it's certainly to keep in mind, but also I think the EV automakers also are just saying there's a lot of demand here, whether that tax credit's with us or not.
Right. And really, we're still revolving around tariffs and taxes. So there is that, the priority. All right. Hey, Nathan, we really appreciate it. Nathan Dean joins us from Bloomberg Intelligence, senior policy analyst. Let's go right